It seems that just about everyone who plays games decides that they have what it takes to review them. So, of course, I do as well. In my eyes, this year has had some of the best and worst releases that we have seen in a while. And as much as I hate to say it, while the highs of this year were really, really high, the lows were also incredibly disappointing, and honestly made me want to stop playing altogether. So, just as the Game Awards are about to roll around, I think it's time that we finally have a recap of this year, go back through some of the high points and the low points in my eyes. While there are a lot of games that I wanted to get around to this year, sadly because of a poor bank account balance, I didn't get to most of them. So, here are the ones that I got around to, or the ones that I think are most notable. Payday 3 managed to be one of the most disappointing releases I have seen to date, and somehow managed to make me completely lose hope in both Starbreeze and Deep Silver. From the moment that my friends and I struggled for about 20 minutes to try to get into a lobby together in the open beta, I knew that this was going to be a disaster. Between the enemies being the biggest and heaviest bullet sponges I have ever experienced, to the nonsensical and downright laughable multiplayer experience, the show of consistent terrible decisions is mind-blowing to me. Even a lot of the claims that they made about how much they were going to release after the launch of the game turned out to be a lie. This has by far got to be one of the biggest disappointments of the year.
Gun games. Use each weapon to clear any threats.
If Payday 3 wasn't enough for you, here's another game that manages to spit all over its consumers. Modern Warfare 3 doesn't even bother to change the executable, while still asking for the ludicrous amount of money that the development team do not deserve. This is hands down one of the laziest displays of video game development I have seen to date. Every part of this game, except for the multiplayer, is DMZ. And even in the multiplayer, from what I played, there is next to no distinguishable difference from the game that came before it. Long story short, do not buy into this garbage. If you own Modern Warfare 2, just keep playing that. Otherwise, you'll be paying another $120 for the exact same experience. While Octopath Traveler made waves when it came out in the JRPG space, this was one I heard nothing about. It only released in the end of February, and pretty much everyone I knew fell silent on it. Octopath Traveler 2 is very similar to its predecessor in the way it presents its story and its overall visual presentation. Nearly to the point where if you put them side by side, you won't be able to see much difference. And normally I would complain about that when it comes to a lot of games, but this isn't one of them. While yes, the gameplay is very similar, nearly to the point of copying, the story is completely different. Meaning that you don't have to play the first one for you to understand and enjoy the second one. Though, if you do enjoy Octopath Traveler 2, I would highly recommend you play 1. Every time I load up this game, I am blown away by the way it looks and the way the audio sounds. The music is serene and absolutely beautiful, bringing such a poetic impact to the story and combat. While I have not seen visual presentation like this in anything outside of Dave the Diver, which we'll be talking about later. Having the character sprites run around in a 3D open environment with this lighting is just gorgeous, and it is such a unique experience that I don't know how to equate it properly. If you are looking for a game to get lost in and spend hours and hours of time in, this is one that I highly recommend. Exploring the open world and experiencing the atmosphere is amazing, and while I don't think it deserves Game of the Year, this is definitely one of my top recommendations for this year. While I started my Armored Core journey only recently, I ended up loving just about every single entry. The Armored Core series has one of the most unique mech combat systems I've ever seen in any game. And though, for some reason, Armored Core 6 is looked down upon by quite a few people, this is definitely one of the strongest entries in the series. Being the newest game from FromSoft, it is full of difficulty and hidden lore. And while the music is a little generic, mixed with the combat, it brings you right into the experience, making every dodge and missile impact feel right out of a Gundam movie. I've already given my thoughts on this game, so if you want a deeper dive, I'll leave a link below and also a card up there somewhere. BattleBit Remastered was honestly one of my most unexpected games of the year. I had not heard a single thing about its development until it exploded onto the Steam store, taking me, and I imagine a lot of other people, by surprise as to how good it was. Taking the combat map size from the Battlefield games, this game allows for massive scale warfare to happen while running on just about everything I could try it on. This is one thing that I have not seen done so well up to this point. Though this game does suffer from its fair share of tryhards and cheaters, it wasn't really enough to annoy me. Whether storming a bridge or sniping in an urban environment, you are bound to have a great time in this game.
Yourself at home. To complete the onboarding process, you will want to check the instruction manual and sign into your ship's computer terminal.
One of the strongest contenders in my eyes for Indie Game of the Year, even though it probably wasn't released in time, sadly. Lethal Company is a horror game that manages to be more fun than most multiplayer experiences I've had in recent years. Between laughing at your friends stumbling through the darkness or trying not to cry the first time you see a coil head, it is nearly guaranteed that you will have a fantastic time in this game when you boot it up. Dave the Diver released at the start of this year, and it managed to consume more time than I even realized was possible. Every time I booted this game up, I would always forget to check my clock, nearly always resulting in me just losing a day to swimming around and fishing. Beautifully balancing the line between exciting exploration game and very relaxing fishing game, Dave the Diver is a fantastic experience. In my eyes, this is another very, very strong contender for Indie Game of the Year. If I can't vote for Lethal Company, this is easily what would get my vote next. With visuals taken right out of Octopath Traveler and music right from Final Fantasy, I for one know that I cannot wait to dive back into this game. As I said at the start of this video, while there have been some really disappointing releases, things like Dave the Diver, Lethal Company and Octopath Traveler have kept me going throughout the year. And while I can never condone the laziness shown by companies like EA and Activision, from Square Enix having Octopath and probably my game of the year, Final Fantasy XVI, while Lethal Company and Dave the Diver bring a fantastic experience to so many people for only about $15. And those are two games from companies that I've never heard of. I don't even know if they have other games. So if there are two games out of this list that I would highly recommend you play, it is those two. Lethal Company and Dave the Diver. By far some of the best experiences I've had this year. While I strongly believe that Lethal Company deserves its place as Game of the Year, I truly believe that Dave the Diver needs a second look. Because in my eyes, and just to throw a curveball in there, I think Dave the Diver is my Indie Game of the Year. So, if I missed any of the games that you thought were notable or deserve Game of the Year, like Spider-Man or Final Fantasy XVI, let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk to you down there. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Keep an eye out for more of these in the future. I'll catch you in the next one.